I've known Tom O'Donnell Jr. now for the better part of 20 years. He became president in 2012, Local 817. He serves on the board of directors of the Motion Picture Museum of the Moving Image, as I do. He's a member of the New York Production Alliance. He's a vice president for the Council of Motion Picture and Television Unions, and he sits on the Mayor's Advisory Council for Film, Theater, and Television. He also holds a bachelor's degree in psychology, which is a really critical credential if you're going to be the president of a union. We're considering LEAP reimbursement for, never mind. Tom was recently appointed by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters as the Assistant Director of the Motion Picture and Television Division. And I have to say that it was my trust in the relationship with Tom that really gave me the comfort to go see President Hoffa and enter into this mutual aid and assistance pact, which solved a lot of problems between the two organizations and also built strength that was there for the taking if we could cooperate. And it's really my experience with Tom, our relationship in New York, and these guys have always stood with us. Always. You don't have to ask twice. You tell them what the problem is, and they come and help you solve it. And if that problem's a labor dispute on the street, they don't ask twice. The gates don't open on the backs of the trucks, and they're there for us, and we've been there for them. So it's my great pleasure to welcome Tom O'Donnell and Frank Connolly.
Thank you, Matt. President Hoffa asked me to relay his regrets that he can't be here today. He sends his best wishes and blessings, and he sends his warmest regards to you, Matt. As President Loeb said, we go a way back. About 20 years ago, we were stuck speaking at a film festival in the Netherlands, and it was there that Matt taught me everything I know about Belgian beer, an education that lingers with me to this day. Before I start my speech, I want to get one thing out of the way. No member of Local 817 would ever be caught dead crossing an IA picket line, period. Well, good morning. I'd like to say it's an honor to be here, but that word doesn't really suffice. It's something much more meaningful to me, if I may digress. The International Brotherhood of Teamsters represents 1.4 million strong, a multitude of job classes from freight haulers to flight attendants to prison guards to locomotive engineers to teachers. Local 817 is unique amongst Teamster locals in that we're chartered only to do work in the entertainment and theatrical industry. One of the days of vaudeville, we represent over 1,000 transportation workers in network TV, episodic TV, feature films, commercials, legitimate theaters, concert halls, as well as casting directors and location managers. Now, I have many great friends in the Teamsters across the country, people who I call my brothers. But the people that I feel closest to are the people right here in this room. You are the people I live and work with. My fortunes rise and fall with your fortunes. There's people in this room that I've worked in the field with side by side, elbow to elbow. And there's people in this room whose father worked side by side with my father. And there's people in this room whose grandfather worked side by side with my grandfather. Local 817 has no greater friend in the film world than John Ford of Local 52. And Local 817 has no greater friend in the theater and live event world than Jim Claffey of Local 1. And we certainly would not be as effective organizing without our partners at Local 340 and Local 4. So you can imagine my chagrin, my distress, when I've traveled around the country over the years to talk about, with other Teamsters engaged in theatrical business, to talk of the problems of the day, and all they wanted to talk about was the IA. The IA organizing, the IA lack of organizing, the IA area standards, IA rating, IA this, IA that. And I would interrupt them and I say, that's not my experience, nor should it be the experience of anybody here. Why are we wasting time and energy railing against a natural ally when we should be focused on a common enemy, the employer? I have even had an employer come up to me and said, I wish you and the IA would get your shit together. Now, I knew, and the employer knew, that he was full of shit because divided we can be conquered. When we stand strong together, we're unconquerable, we're unbreakable. Well, I'm happy to report today that there's a wind of change blowing across the landscape. IA-Teamster relations are the best they've been in years, maybe even decades. And it's because of one man, and that man is General President Matt Loeb. Matt saw the dysfunction and he recognized the potential. One of the first things he did when he got into office was he asked for a sit-down with General President Hoffa, and they entered into a mutual aid pact. And then he did something remarkable. Matt Loeb, international president, asked for a meeting with Leo Reed, local union president of Hollywood Teamsters. And at that meeting, Matt spoke about mending fences, how we had more in common than we differed, about everything that we could accomplish if we worked together and we pooled our resources. He held out the olive branch. And what Leo Reed saw, and what other Teamsters around the country saw, was a reflection of themselves, or at least the self they purported to be, a true trade unionist who put his members first beyond everything else, even his own ego. Now, we're going to still have our squabbles. We have squabbles now. But we have a line of communication and the forums in which to address these issues, and I feel with this renewed brotherhood, with joint organizing and mutual assistance, I think the sky's the limit for the IA and Teamsters. While I'm on the topic of bettering communications, I want to speak to a challenge that lies before us all, and that is communicating to our members that they are combatants in the war against workers. We're lucky. Private industry is only about 7% unionized, and we're in one of the more heavily unionized industries around. But consequently, our members feel removed from the fray. They feel insulated from the woes of the common working man. But they're not insulated. They're next up. We're on deck. I take great pride in the representation I give my members, but I feel like I've let them down. They feel too comfortable. I don't know if I've convinced them that there is a war on workers. Hell, I'm still trying to convince some members that they're even actually workers. I see them constantly voting against their own best interest, the interest of working families. I'd be willing to wager in the last election, more than half voted Republican. Now, we support numerous Republicans on a state level, those people that support the agenda of my members, mostly tax credits. And I imagine there's a few good ones across the country, but I'll be damned if I can find one. It used to be Republicans would just bash us in boardroom meetings and cocktail parties. Now they go on national TV to bash us, and they blame the economic woes of the country on the meager 12% of the working populace that happen to have a union card in their pocket. It's got to stop. I have to do a better job. We have to do a better job of communicating to our members that there is a war against workers and convincing them that they are soldiers in this war and they need to take the fight to the street and to the voting booths. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. I know you have a lot of important business. It's been my experience that while the best speeches aren't always short, almost all the worst ones are long. So to President Loeb, to the General Executive Board, and to you, my brothers and sisters in the audience, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for the privilege to speak before you today. You've enabled me to cross off one more item from my bucket list. I'm always at your service. Thank you again, and God bless the IA.